Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Divinism Total Knowledge channel. We're back at the test platform. The new test platform, that is. And even though I didn't make this like official announcement video for the test platform thing, 155 people has already found it and subscribed to it. So if you also want this test platform, like I don't have the APS version there, I guess I could upload that too, but yeah, this test platform is yeah, on my workshop. So if you just go to Steam and Workshop, you can find me there. You can go to gmodism.com and there should be a link to my workshop within there. Kinda handy. Anyways, so I realized for my battleship, I need to update it. I need to fix it. Because as you might know, I'm building a battleship that's quite large, that's called the DRACONIA, and it will fight Borderwise, which is another YouTuber, which I think you know about, his Titan Slang, which is a new battleship, and that's 1.8 million, and the DRACONIA will also be 1.8 million. And so I've seen from Borderwise's video that it indeed feels like he's taking a lot of inspiration from the Megalodon. And I would basically describe his ship as a Doom Cram Megalodon. Yeah, and it also has ERA armor all over. And the thing is, because he's very similar to the Megalodon, he have extremely good LAM systems, and I think his LAM systems, combined with the civs and everything, is just much stronger than the Megalodon, or at least in that range, comparable to the Megalodon. And the DRACONIA's barrage of crams, yeah, they basically don't really get through to the Megalodon. The Megalodon's LAMs zap most of the crams out, so I have to rely on the laser to disabling the Megalodon enough in order to land the cram shots. And you know what? I don't think I have a chance at this stage. So I was a little bit crestfallen that the DRACONIA probably does not have any chance. Because it just is not able to beat the Megalodon quick enough, and Borderwise's Titan Slang is, well, from what I understand, it's stronger than the Megalodon. So I have a little bit of a trouble there. So I thought I need to switch up some of my weaponry. I need to change some stuff. I'll need to go into APS more. I can't rely on my crams because my crams won't get through. The missiles, I'm hoping the missiles will get through because I relied on this like heavy barrage to just overwhelm the enemy LAM system, to just spam them out of existence. But the missiles are not the main weaponry, and I can't assume that they all will get through. So what I'm gonna do with the DRACONIA is I'm gonna switch my crams to kinetic crams to boost their HP of each shell, and hopefully that will mean that the cram shots will get through. However, the cram shots will not do as much damage, because they will either be pure penetrating shells or they will be hollow point. And cram shots are very good at, they just melt straight through ERA armor. ERA armor doesn't damage cram shots. But I can't rely only on the crams, because Borderwise's ship is very quick as well, so a lot of my cram shells will most likely miss, especially my mortars. Mortars are best at little steady targets, but the mortars do actually hit the Megalodon fairly reliably. So it depends, I guess, if Borderwise's Titan Slang moves from side to side and does that stuff of like maneuvering, and I don't remember if it did something like that from the last video. And Borderwise might still update the ship also, so it might change like everything. But anyways, I came to the conclusion that I can't rely only on crams. I need to get more APS. So yeah, I need to get more APS. what I even want to do is I want to go into sub-object modes because I have a nice turret that has 3 weapons on it, and it is, where is it? Drake multi-system turret. Yeah, this doesn't work. It doesn't have it doesn't have different weapon controllers. I can show it to you so you know what I'm talking about. But the thing is, it has one local weapon controller for controlling the entire turret, and it actually needs to have one weapon controller per weapon system, otherwise the guns can't aim independently. And this causes a little bit of a problem, because that means that I would have to insert more local weapon controllers. Yeah, otherwise it won't work, and if I do that I can't EMP protect them. So I'm just gonna delete that turret. It's not gone. I think I will make an only APS version using that turret shell. Now, well, the turret is still left on the DRACONIA, so I can just make it from there. But I intend to make like another APS turret out of that, and I intend to add some other APS turrets as well. And I do have some APS turrets which are set up to use hash, and I try to use armor piercing EMP as well. But from my scene on Borderwise's videos, he is very good at armoring, and he is lining everything with a layer of staggered ERA. So staggered ERA is an era pattern like this, so it's like era, metal, era, metal, era, metal. And I know some of these are the other way around, and they are only made that because I think it looks better, and I did tests with it and it's the same. It doesn't matter which way they are. So that's basically that, and all the cool kids are using staggered ERA. Like, everyone is using it. It's something you need to use if you don't use it, because what happens is if you detonate one of these era panels, the entire thing won't, blow up. And era, if you didn't know what that is, that's explosive reactive armor, and that basically sends out an explosion when you kind of shoot at it. So if I go here and just, you can see it kind of explodes. It's actually better if I show it with a nade launcher. Come on. You can see it stopped it by exploding. So that's nice and all, but we need to make something that actually gets through era or disables the era. So because we're dealing with a ship that has era all over, and when I start to accept battleship submissions from you guys, I'd expect most of you to have stagger era as well, because this is like what everyone uses. So I'll need something that destroys and disables or get through stagger era. Simple as that. So today we're going to try and find a shell that kind of counters staggered ERA. So that's basically what we're doing this time. Because, well, I'm going to get some APSs there, and I need to find a shell that actually works. So we're going to do some tests. I already did some tests before this little recording. But right now we can just begin with what we have here. We have a hollow point. How much rail draw have I set up to this thing? It has max rail draw. Pretty quick shells. Yeah, I think I can fire this with full rail. So it's powerful hollow point. Yeah, so we can do like this. What now? What's the problem? Oh, I'm not here. I need to be closer to this thing. There we go. And that's the power of hollow point, yeah? They do like that. And they only damage the outside of the armor, like this, boom. And then I noticed this little worrying thing that's kind of problematic, and that is that if you go here, you saw that era basically stopped that hollow point. So it seems that hollow points get stopped by era armor. If we just do like this, Should be fairly somewhere in there. No, it doesn't. Maybe it just was weak when it came there. So, because hollow point explodes on the surface like that, I'm not sure we can rely on that, but seems that hollow point does not stop era armor. I kind of thought like that, but that's probably just because the kinetic damage of that thing was just too low when we got through there. So if we just go in here and we set this up to be an armor piercing EMP, and then we get, let's see here. I know this shell is pretty quickly, so I'm gonna have a lot of EMP load on this thing. Let's see here. Can we increase the speed a little bit of this thing? No, not that much. Okay, like that. And I learned like this. If you do like this, designer mode refill APS shells, you don't need to clear the clips, they just get replaced. So, as we can see here, the era armor detonated the EMP shell on the era armor, so the EMP surge got out from that position. And if you want to see again, we can even do like this. And it just zoop and zap some blocks there. But of course, this would be really nice, but this is assuming that the person has done the EMP insulation on the outside layer and not like EMP insulating behind the era layer. And we can't really assume that, so I think when we are going up against staggered era, we can't use armor piercing EMP, yeah? So what if we use AP frag, everyone's golden standard? I don't know if it should be, not flak. Frag. Like that. And I don't know, I think it's like 180 degrees that people usually do. So let's do that. And we just fire. We say boom. And again, the era detonates that, and you can see it's only 2 era blocks that actually got destroyed. The other blocks around here and around here, they are intact. And of course next shot gets through, but to be honest, at that point, at the point where we land another shot at the exact same spot, we're probably already dead. So we could do another thing, and that's having a burst gun. But having a burst gun with like 500 millimeters that we're firing now, or similar, that can get through the outer layer of armor. Here we have 2 meters of metal and 1 meter of heavy armor. So kind of, you know, a kind of sturdy, but also kind of standard way to armor things. I wouldn't armor like this, but a lot of people do. And that's a powerful way. So that thing basically, yeah, won't do much. It's kind of weak, like. Okay, so now we got a better shot somehow, and you can see it kind of went through, but it also was stopped. Yeah. By the way, if we went in here and we like had a, I don't know, penetration depth fuse set up to like 7 or something. We fire there and we fire again. No, okay. Oh yeah, because we need to do like this. Whoops. I wonder if the pen depth fuse could possibly be able to actually bypass the era. No, of course not. But anyways, if we would get another shot there, you can see, boof, it went through, exploded there, frags all over, damaged internal parts, very nice. And basically all most internal parts are much weaker than a single block of wood. So like, if wood gets melted by frags and stuff, the internal parts will get shredded. Like wood is weak, but it's not as weak as everyone thinks. Wood has a lot of HP, and it's great to use as HP absorbents for the cost. Of course, metal is even better at that, but wood does that for a very low cost. Right. So, AP frag is probably not the answer here either. So, some other people use HE, APHE, like this. That's cool. Let's see there. Oh, yeah, it seems to be fine. And we can set it to refill and just fire. Boom. And now we see here that more of the era got destroyed. There. The explosion kind of destroyed some other ones around it, like that. Which is nice. Boom. And I think I found an interesting little counter here, which I'm going to show you next, which might be the optimal era counter. And that is not armor-piercing high explosive, but actually armor-piercing flak, because flak's explosive radius is just much higher. And if you see here, we can even slow down time. Boom! There you see the explosion just shredded through so much of the era here, like really like a huge area of the era here. So this is my current like to-go idea. Armor piercing flak might be something we want, and we can see that the flak explosion itself, it's kind of weak. It damages a lot of blocks around it, but it deals small damage. Oof. So it looks cool, but it does not do much. Yeah. But that's basically what I'm thinking about. Maybe armor-piercing flak is a good anti-era shell, because we can then kill some era. And the thing is, now we can see we have a lot of flak here, but actually we don't need that. We can have like one flak, and that's enough. So if we just fire here, you can see, boom, it does the same, because the area of effect is kind of the same. So they delete as many blocks as that. Boom. Wait. Now I think I forgot to APS. Okay. Okay, they don't delete as many blocks when we have. Okay. Right. Which makes sense. It makes sense. Here we can see 3 blocks there, 1 there, 1 there, 3 there, 3 there. Okay. And if we go back here, flak, we have like 3 flaks, and we update it, repair it, and fire again. Yeah, okay, more flak is better. If we want to counter the ERA, we can see we wiped out a big portion of the active era here. So if another shot, like a Hesh or something, would pass through and there, and it would basically not meet any era, any armor-piercing EMP or armor-piercing heat, something like that. Right. So one thing I did already get the answer to, but I'm going to test it just because we can. And that is armor-piercing heat. So let's see here. High explosive warhead. So armor-piercing shape charge as secondary. And if we do like this, you can see when we fire, poof, it does still get stopped by the era. And now of course the shell is all too powerful. If we want to show the heat capabilities of this, we'll need to go and yeah, let's just go to railgun and just remove that. Alright, so it's enough to get through there. Okay, and if we fire again, poof, got some heat there. Alright, interesting. So armor piercing secondary like charge doesn't like do that much, because it gets stopped by the era. And of course next shot at the same place works fine, but like you're not realistically going to hit at the same spot. So if we just compare this with a chemical shell, like a proper heat shell, just a normal heat, we can do like this. You remember how it was, and we fire it again. Boom. God damn it. That's just much better. Those spallings get through. Man. So armor piercing heat is basically worse in this scenario. That's weird. Because if we fire here, the spalls seem to get through the era. It seems like the fragments won't get destroyed by the era. That's interesting. Alright, I thought it would be a better counter, to be honest. Boof. See that there. We can even do like this. Let's have some repair all, refill APS shells. Right. Right. There we go. So, seems that they basically just melt through the era. That's really good to know. Alright, so heat might be a good contender here. And we are also going to, let's see here. What are we gonna do? Let's set this to always and damage debugging, clear this. Because I want to see what happens if we make a... what happens if we change this to a hash shell? So we're going to change the nose to a shape squash head. Yeah. Squash head. And fire again. Poof. Alright. And those were just much weaker. Like these hash, they seem to almost have get stopped by... It's much wider. It doesn't detonate too much of that either. Wow. Okay, so heat is very much superior when it comes to this thing. Let's just turn off damage debugging. I know it's useful, I don't know. I think it's more useful for me to see the damage, so I just use it sometimes. Yeah, let's just compare with this again. Boom. And there we can see. Alright. So what if we try to protect this era here so we don't get the chain reaction? What if we move this heavy armor layer and just have an air gap in front of it and just protect this era layer with some proper heavy armor? Okay, let's do it properly. What are we doing now? Like there. Plop, 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 plop. Right. So we can repair this thing. Oh, repair it too. No, god damn it. Here we go. Alright. So here we have the heat shell on, okay. It got stopped there. So this is the case if we got an air gap before we got the era. If they invested in an air gap, I think we probably need to go for a shape charge secondary. Can we have double shape charge? Does it do anything? Of course it doesn't. So let's go down here and select an armor piercing head and no, heavy head. No, heavy solid warhead body, I mean. Like this. Okay. Interesting. Now that got stopped, didn't it? I think we need to get some rail draw in order to show this off. To get our armor piercing capabilities a little bit better. Alright. So there we go. It kind of exploded there. Alright. Boom. So now it seems to be Well, folks, it's good to have an air gap, that's for sure. I wonder though, okay, so rail stats. This goes fairly quick. It has loads of kinetic damage. Yeah, this should get through very far. I really like firing properly. So it seems to be a really good idea to protect the array with a layer of armor of some kind. Because now they do not, they get stopped as well as a normal heat shell. So that's very interesting. If we just change back to regular heat. Right. So if we change back to regular heat, we make a really powerful heat here. Like a lot of, kind of insane. Okay. Oof. Ah, well, it does damage for sure. God. No. It's not what we're looking for. Like, this air gap is really valuable. That air gap, I kind of underestimated the air gap because I thought that the era would like do its thing. But really, so if we do like this, what if we do an armor piercing kinetic, what is it called? Body, solid warhead body, thank you. What if we do what I did before? A flak shell? Something like that, 3 flags maybe. I'll just refill, repair, and okay. Okay. So if you do like this, click end key. Oh, end key, thank you. Top down cutter, what is it? Cut. That works. Okay, so the damage of the deleted era blocks is located to one, like, spalt thing. Okay. You can probably, like, you can have it like this. And just practice. It looks terrible. It looks creepy in some way. I don't know. I hate this. Ugh. 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 Ush. Let's remove it. Okay. Thank you. Ugh. I think that's the phobia of holes. Anyways, I don't know if I got that. It just looked gross. All right. So my counter to the to that isn't really valid. Let's just, for comparison's sake, replace that with some of that thing. Alright, no difference. Okay, then we know that. Era is hard to counter, is my conclusion. Right. So, one thing that we can do is, of course, going with a pure kinetic shell. Because I didn't think this was the case, but actually, when we shoot a pure kinetic shell, what are we doing? It just melts straight through era. And that's like a good thing. It just melts straight through era. Boom. Right. So from this, I almost thought I invented a way to counter the era with using like flak. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really work at all, because we can't counter the era if it's sandwich. And from this we can learn you should always sandwich your like segmented, staggered array. The array should be sandwiched. Yeah, I need to check my Draconia if all the ERA is sandwiched. But yeah, it seems to be really important. I kind of wonder a little bit about... let's see here. What did I call my new boat? I wonder. Does it have a name? No, it's probably just boat 2, isn't it? All right. Okay, good. I just wanted to check that my era is sandwiched because I thought it might be on the outer side, but it is not. Well, that's good. That is good. All right. And what do you think about this armoring? Do you like it? Is it good? I think it seems to be a pretty good armoring. I think this should be like this. When I finish with this thing, it would be like probably much better. I was thinking I should perhaps, you know, scrap the Draconia and finish this thing and send that instead. But I think it's a little bit too late because I don't know, I'm doing serious and stuff like that, so it feels wrong to scrap the Draconia, you know. Do you notice here that even though we have you know, that over, you can see it's still blue. When we zoom out, the platform becomes blue, and that is because under the mimics I actually bothered to color this this deck here. I bothered to color it blue. So that's why it's blue when you zoom out. The metal deck is blue under. Yeah, I thought it was important. Yeah, well, any case, so basically, the only thing we can get through with is actually proper kinetic shell. So this gives another blast for the regular armor piercing shell, because it goes through era. So I guess the armor piercing, or possibly the heavy head, this is much less armor piercing. We can actually do like this. If we fire both that shot, you know what? I think we should go here and disable the railgun and see how much damage it does at like 1000. Both. There we go. Okay. And if we change it, now we have changed it to heavy head, it's similar damage. Yeah, we really need some super powerful armor piercing rounds. So basically, in this case, we might as well overpenetrate, just make something that shoots straight through the enemy. If possible, of course it can be like countered, but the stronger there is, the more potential damage there is, and it doesn't do that much if it overpenetrates, because we're not going to have an internal payload, right? If I boost this with a railgun, like now, it fires a shot that's 948 meters per second. If I boost it up, we almost get to 1.8k. Does anyone say like that? Probably not. Right. It just straight through with a heavy head. So that's nice. And then is the case here. So the heavy head speed modifier, we can make it even faster with an armor piercing head. Yeah. The hollow point spreads out the damage. So if we just let's test it here. If we got the protected and an air gap there, you can see we deleted that hole. We got a nice hole into the hull. And the second one, it doesn't get through. Boom, and there we get through. Yeah, might get through to some internal components if the armor of the enemy isn't too thick, but man, I feel that a real like armor piercing round is probably do more. Now I'm going to check some of these other stuff that I am not too well. I don't understand that much, so let's check. Alright, so I just looked through the menu a little bit here. And if I, for example, would make a 2-gun turret that can get through era, I want it to be on, if it's going to be on the same gun, both shells need to have exactly the same speed in order for the, well, for the AI to aim them properly. So we have all sorts of options here. And my little thing that was a like armor piercing, an armor piercing flak shell, it was great at taking out era armor if the era wasn't sandwiched in. But most people will sandwich in their ERA. So we can't really rely on that. I think one of the shells we're going to use is pure armor piercing kinetic shell, just try and shoot straight through the enemy ship. And all the ships with era, we can like bypass this and still do some damage. The other shell I was thinking about is the shape charge has a speed modifier of 1.6 as well, so they are the same. And we want them to be fast because then the lambs might not take him out in time. And I'm thinking that the shape charge, even though it kind of gets killed when it hits an era shell, it's most likely going to hit the outside of the armor, and the spalls flying in will damage internal parts. And a lot of the parts will not be, yeah, like, what to say, the like spalls might get through, basically, yeah. Anyways, so my specialized armor piercing flak doesn't really work. I kind of got myself lost there. But if we go with a shape charge and if we go with just high explosive like this, let's see what kind of damage we did. Like this, and just fire, poof. And when it fires here, the spalls get there. Oh yeah. You know, we should do like this too. A little bit slower. There we can see. Now it's heavy armor right behind there. Like most likely, I'm not sure we'll actually have a layer of heavy armor behind of there. Let's try and change it to metal. Most people have their heavy armor more within the ship. Now I think, if I don't remember incorrectly, I think the Titan Slug does have a layer of heavy armor in the armor, like a belt of heavy armor. I think that was the thing in the last video, and it might change, you never know. But let's say it's metal instead. And then we can really get those heat shells to spread out. And of course, this protection from the heavy armor is only true if the heavy armor resides in front of the era. If it would be on the like main armor like this, that would be another case. But I feel like that heat is a pretty good, it's pretty good at damaging era. Like we could damage a couple of blocks behind there, just with this, well, just with his spalls. And most likely, not all the places will be protected by a layer of era. So if we hit a turret or something that's not era protected, one single heat shell might actually disable it. So I think that regular armor piercing in combination with regular armor piercing in combination with these heat shells should probably be the best counter against era, because Hesh shells was obviously not the same strength. We can just try that again and just replace. Oops, fire like that. Now you can see we did like damage here, but the damage were more spread out, so we didn't get in deep. I wonder though with this setup, because right now we can see that the spalls are actually doing the damage. Now that was still the, oh yeah. Let's switch back to a heat and update this thing. Just fire there. Poof. The spalls are doing this damage, yeah, which is nice. What if we actually made this an armor piercing heat shell that a lot of people have recommended to me? And that's also good. So let's make it have like, yeah, that's probably secondary shape charge, HE body, very nice. Now it should get through some. Oof. But even though with the air gap and everything like that, it still gets hard stopped by the era layer. So I'm not really sure when we're against staggered era. I don't think that this armor piercing heat does anything better. It seems that the regular heat shell does more damage. Because the heat shell, the regular heat shell, actually takes out more of the internal parts. Or the era that we hit behind it. We just destroy much more ERA, and then other shells could pass through there as well, so that's useful. Right. Boom. There you can see, and possibly a lot of people would possibly have like actual components just behind the era layer, because usually you don't get through the era layer, and the spalls will get through, which is nice. Just for like some comparison though, what if we made this into a strong, like, regular just frag shell? I want to try that. So we have a frag head, and we're going to have frag warhead bodies, and we're just going to go straight frag. We can even have a little more frag like that, like a proper frag. Alright. Clip length is still great. Let's leave it at 60 for now. Refill. How does... Alright, the recording got full there, so I had to... restart it. Where you can see the frag shells looks kind of cool. I don't think they looked this cool before, did they? Did they be updated, or have I just not used them forever? It's like a cool sigil and stuff on them. They look super cool. Does this mean anything? It looks like a goddess. What? That's like that. What the hell? What Easter egg is this? It looks like someone sitting with their legs crossed. It looks like some Indian, like Hindu god, doesn't it? It's hard to see like the face. Whoa, that's interesting. It looks like an Indian, like Hinduistic god, not like Shiva. Does it have like elephant features like Ganesh? No. Interesting though, very interesting. Maybe it's some war god of some kind. Very interesting. I don't know that. That's an interesting Easter egg. Please tell me in the comments if you know what that is. Anyways, pure frag. Boom. Damn, that deals a lot of damage too. It doesn't like counter era in any way. But what if we made the fragmentation cone like 8 degrees? And we just update that and just poof. Man, this goes through as well. Okay. So, one win for frag shells then. That's the frag shells is also something we can do. Right, so now we have 8 degrees. Whoops. Where did we go? There we got 8. Yeah, okay. So let's do a little bit more, like 20 degrees then. And refill. Okay. Okay. Yeah, alright. So pure frag. Definitely. This does equal damage. What if we spread it out a little bit more? Let's try to do 30 degrees. Just... That's a little bit too spread out. Won't get through really. Especially if we're in an angle. We probably want something like... Whoa! Let's see here. Probably want something like 15 degrees then. And we probably need to... do like that. We can slow down time a little bit too. Alright. Boom. So it went straight there. Just spoiled a lot of frags. Doing like that. No. We can probably go for another round. If, come on. It goes so fast, it's kind of hard to see. Now we don't need this shell to be like that fast, to be honest. But here we can see this would most likely deal internal damage despite the era. So pure frag is also an option. And the really interesting thing is that if we would go with a, I don't know, armor piercing head and some solid, so we get an armor piercing AP frag, I think it will do much worse. Look at this. No? Wait. Oh, the frag exploded there. Yeah, it's much worse. Oh, God. What is happening though? Did we somehow run? Okay. Did we somehow... Oh, did... What happened though? Right. What made that explode though? Huh, that was unnerving. Alright. What happened? Seriously? What is my character jumping up and down? What is this sorcery? What is happening here? It's just weird. Okay. Okay, let's take this out of play and into play. Make sure we're there. Okay, now we're back to normal. Very nice. That was interesting. So if we're dealing with frag shells, you have to have an ejection defuse, otherwise you're super screwed. So frag warhead. And the frag warhead makes us very... Oh, not flak. We can have flak as well. A frag warhead makes us very, very easy to shoot this shell out. So if you go here, you can see the frag warhead sets the health modifier to 0.35. So if we want to have frag, we need to make sure these are real fast. Oh, gotta be real fast. Gotta go fast. Otherwise, they will just get zapped by lambs and they're like wasted energy. And that's like, you can see here, boom, go through the era, very nice. So pure frag is an option too, interesting. Okay, this is a lot of... So even with like full raid roll, okay, that's not acceptable. Gunpowder casing, we'll need to get it up to almost 2,000. Otherwise, I don't think we'll get through here. Really? Oh, it's because we don't have the... God damn it. We of course need the frag head, yeah? Alright. And now we can have a little bit more. Frag, warhead body. Oh yeah, that's okay, that's acceptable. Okay, we can have that shell. For this one, okay. And that wasn't as impressive, was it? It really wasn't. Okay, not at all. So we do the frag cone. Oh yes, of course we need to make it narrow it down. 12 degrees, something like that. Let's try if it actually updates. It doesn't. Okay, now we should be updated. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, it gets through. It gets through. Boom, but really, maybe we want them to be narrower. See if that helps us. Set it down to like 5 degrees. Update the shell. Whoops. Make sure we did it correctly. Boom. Okay. Slight damage through there. Alright, so if we look 1 point... Okay, yeah. So if we instead have a shaped charge heat, and we got some high explosive warheads, we can have another one. Then we have kind of the similar speed. We can even have another one there. God damn it, now we get real powerful. Weird. So the HE body... Wait. Did I not... That's weird. Maybe I forgot to draw up that. Let me check that. Yeah, because the speed modifier of the HE, it's like of the frag is 1.45 and the other one is 1.6. So that's the difference. Yeah. So about like frags, when we fire them with a frag head like this, it seems a little bit weird, but it seems kind of like when we fire here, that the angles get super weird. It's almost like the era or something makes it spread out much more than how you set it up. Because inside of here you can see this frag head is set up to 60 degrees, but if we even decrease it to like, I don't know, we can decrease it to like something more. We can decrease it to like, let's say like 4 degrees. We'll do like this, refill, repair, and if we fire again. Wait, what? Okay, now it didn't do that. Well, that's very interesting. Because when I was testing before, it was almost like the frag kinda did some other stuff there. Alright, so let's have 10 degrees, a little bit more wide. And just refill and just fire. See there. Well, that's fine. That's like decent damage. It's almost like actually using a proper just kinetic shell. So we don't have any advantage with this. So let's move it up to like 21. Alright, see if that does anything. So now it spreads out a little bit more, but we really don't penetrate that. Like, we don't do very much damage into the era armor layer. So this is of course not an option. And beside of that, this shell is like too slow. So we really need some kind of armor piercing head. Just to get the speeds up a little bit. So we have like 1.8k speed, which I think is kind of the minimum we can do actually, because otherwise I think we can't do anything about those. Alright, so expected armor piercing, we could, to do more kinetic damage, we could add a solid warhead body. That's probably not needed, but we can do that. So if we do like this and fire it again, and yes, we are in slow motion. And there we can see, yeah, so that's what kind of was the thing here. I believe when we have, let's try just again with a frag cone that's kind of super narrow. Because I want to see what changes when we use an armor piercing head. Because this is more like aerodynamic. And yeah, it looks like the frag gets spread out in another way when we do this somehow. I'm not sure why, but yeah. So if we just make sure it's like refilled. How much inaccuracy do we have from recoil there? I think we'll need to wait for it a little bit to chill a little bit. Inaccuracy. That takes time. Let's do like this. Make sure we actually fire a accurate shot. At slow speed, of course, because otherwise we can't catch. Alright. So now we are dealing some penetrative damage. That's like acceptable. But some earlier times, I think it almost felt like it got completely stopped. And the frags spread out in a weird angle. So let's... yeah, look. There. Now it felt like the era detonated it. Because the frag cone is still narrow, isn't it? And it's 5 degrees. So sometimes the era detonates the frag, so it kind of blows out in another direction. So that's what I kind of feel like. I'm not sure frag is the optimal thing, but sometimes it does get through. And to get that speed, we of course need an armor piercing frag. So AP frag is a valid thing to use here. So let's just take one shot here for comparison. All right. Boom. There we have the frag. Now let's switch to another shell. Here we go with an armor-piercing round that's set up to shoot through even heavy armor. Straight through. Can deal a lot of internal damage, so that's absolutely viable against against ERA. And there we have the heat shell, which should indeed disable and get through some of the ERA thanks to the spalls. And there we can see indeed it gets through it, and it can deal some damage behind of it because, you know, most likely something behind an ERA layer might not be that well protected, and much important components can be just behind an ERA layer, and it shot off a metal beam there, so that's good. If you have a single layer of metal protecting from behind the ERA, you can still do some damage here. And if there were some other components here, you can see the damage done to these metal beams. Well, if it was an engine or whatever, it would have get destroyed. So I guess the final verdict of this thing is that maybe we'll see a comeback of regular kinetic, just penetrating shells that shoot straight through with APS in order to counter ERA armoring, especially this like staggered ERA. And we probably also can use armor piercing frag. AP frag is definitely viable against the ERA. AP EMP does get stuck at the ERA layer, so probably if the enemy has done a proper armoring, you won't have much use of that. And when you use AP frag, you really have to have like emergency ejectors and ejection defuses on the shells, of course. Anyways, and also the regular heat seems to be doing quite decent damage against the ERA as well, since we can just get those superheated metal stream just straight through it and damage some blocks behind. Well, that's, I guess, my verdict on this little thing. Please post your favorite shells in the comments and what you would recommend to use in order to counter ERA. And of course, we're talking APS shells because crams just melt straight through ERA like nothing. So that doesn't count like APS, we're talking APS. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching. This is yours, Geomodism, and we're signing out. You can download the platform also if you want to. Go to geomodism.com. Yeah. See you next time. Geomodism signing out.